All right, Rush to Reason, Denver's Afternoon Rush, KLZ 560. Thanks for joining us today. Lindsey Singer up next from Colorado Rising Action. Lindsey, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
We're doing very well. Thank you for joining us. Give us, if you would, an update on what's going on with Tabor.
Yeah, so Tabor, there was some polling that was released late last week, early this week, that shows that 71% of Coloradans support Tabor, which is a crazy number.
Wow, that is.
I don't know if any poll, these days gets that kind of support, but it just shows the more that you talk about the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, the more that people understand it and like it. So this poll, so let me say 47% of people initially support it just when you say the word Tabor or Taxpayer Bill of Rights. And then when you just give the basic definition of what is in the law, meaning that it allows Coloradans to vote on statewide tax increases and that it allows us to control the size of government, that support goes up to 71%.
Wow. That's huge.
That is huge.
So in other words, once they understand how it works, it even goes up farther.
Right. So I wanted to share that with you and with all your listeners just because I know I talk about Tabor a lot, probably at least a little bit every week. And this is why, because it's so important and because it's so strongly supported in the state.
Nobody wants to pay any more taxes than they absolutely have to. That's been you can poll pretty much anybody you want, Lindsey, and get that same answer.
Absolutely. And if there is something that people are willing to spend more tax money on because they believe that the government is spending their tax dollars well, they will support that. We've seen it on the local level, but most of the time, the last 6 statewide tax increases have gone down because the state government hasn't shown that to be true. And something that's another interesting number in this polling is that the increase in people who support Tabor after they hear the definition comes almost entirely from people who were sort of unsure about it in the first place. So, there's the people who oppose it and we're not going to change their minds because they're, whatever. They just are going to be stuck in their ways and they hate Tabor because they want more money to spend on their special programs. But there's 26% of people who are unsure about Tabor, but when you just explain it, talking about consenting to new taxes and keeping the size of the government under control, the unsure people go down to 2%.
Wow.
That's big.
That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a glimmer of hope out there that people understand what's going on maybe a little bit. Well, at least when it comes to Tabor.
At least when it comes to Tabor, they didn't do that when they elected, the certain officials that are going to actually run this stuff, but they understand, and I firmly believe that they understand that side of the fence. I just think, and I could be completely wrong, Lindsey, but I just think this last election, either two things happened, and I think it's a combination. We, as Republicans, number one, didn't do a very good job of handling this last election period. Plain and simple, we pretty much blew it. Number two, we didn't message right. There's just so many things we did incorrect that's partly why we lost as much as we did. Number two, I feel like some people just vote because there was a D next to it. Even though they didn't know the person's policies, they didn't have any idea what that person stood for. Because there was a D next to it, they were going to vote D, period.
Sure. And, I go as far as to say that some people sort of campaign to win and maybe don't talk about the parts of their platform that are unpopular with the majority of Coloradans, and then they get into office and try to undermine things like Tabor. And, another topic we can talk about where the same type of thing is happening is the national popular vote.
Yes.
Because, it's hearing the strong opposition to new taxes from voters and then going ahead and trying to undermine that, doing whatever they feel is best.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point a moment ago, something that, please, everybody listening to me, make sure that you hear me correct on this. I am never saying that if I were to ever run as a candidate, I would be dishonest in what I was going to run as a candidate. But what I would say, Lindsey, is this. I would do exactly what the Democrats do to win. You don't have to talk about every single thing that's inside of your mind when it comes to running for elections. And I feel like at times we as Republicans lay far too much on the line instead of concentrating on the 2 or 3 things that are key.
Yeah, I think that can be true. And I would never say I'd want to run like the Democrats run because I hope I can keep my principles.
No, I want to win, Lindsey. My point was saying that is I want to win. I'm tired of losing in this state. I've been a native of Colorado my entire life, and I'm tired of watching us lose. And for once in our life as Republicans, we have got to start playing to win.
Yeah, and that's, there's a Democrat strategist who said sort of recently that that exact same thing you're saying. Like when Republicans get tired of losing, will come together. And what Democrats did is a number of years ago, this is sort of when Jared Polis was getting going and called the Gang of Four, kind of put a lot of money behind certain ideas. And if Democrats were willing to go along with those ideas, they were in the in crowd, and if they weren't, they were out, And so this money would support the Democrats that supported their ideas.
Which, by the way, we should be doing and what I mean, again, do I like Democrats? Absolutely not. Do I want to win exactly the way they do? Of course not. But I want to win. And you cannot, though, fault their strategy. They're winning. If somebody's winning, you have to figure out why. And this is all-out war. You have to do better than the other side if you're going to win.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't understand why we can't figure that out, Lindsey.
One thing I think is there's a lot of different people that. I'm not saying this is right. This is my observation of what's going on, is that there's Republicans who will sort of put their money behind one issue or want to win in one race. And we haven't really caught on to being more organized than that and being able to give up maybe something for right now to help our bigger picture of, long-term wins and getting the majority back in our legislature and that kind of thing. So, I agree with what you're saying. I don't have a good answer right now, but I think that is what's going on. Is some of the big donors are sort of fragmented, and the way the Democrats did it was that a lot of the money came together into one pool.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're spot on, Lindsey. We've got to change our strategy if we want to take the state back.
Yep.
And like John says, we got to play to win, and we got to stop eating our
Politics is war. We have to, which for some reason, Lindsey, I don't understand why we can't get that through our thick Republican conservative skulls that it's all out war. And when you win wars, you do every single thing you possibly can to win. That's how you win wars.
Not only that, when you do win,
you celebrate.
They govern like you won.
Yes, thank you. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, like Trump said, you're going to get tired of winning. Win. I'm not going to get tired of winning.
I'm not tired of winning either. And winning this day, I'm tired of losing.
Yeah, exactly. But what I'm saying is that look what happened when the Republicans had the House. Did they do anything? Did they get anything done?
No.
Any of the big ticket items that Trump ran on? No. And they should have. The wall should be being built right now.
Agree. So, Lindsey, when it comes to you guys at Colorado Rising Action, and I know you're sort of a think tank. You're getting the information out there. Partly why you're with us on a weekly basis is to do the things that we're talking about right now. Let our listeners and people out there that are listening know what's going on inside the state so they can be more aware of it, which I do believe we're making a difference and making a dent. But beyond that, what are the things we can do collectively to raise this awareness and get to the point where we start winning?
Yeah, so I think talking about these issues, as more polling comes out on issues, taking the things that really resonate with most people and focusing on that instead of getting distracted with, things that may cause a lot of noise but may not go our way. But one issue from the legislature, the public injection sites. So the Democrat-run legislature put this out, and they just have decided to put it on hold because of the overwhelming public pressure that was put on. So I think, the issues like that come out, we just need to continue to press to keep it in the media and to press our legislators. I know a lot of people showed up and testified during the hearing on that one, and so they've decided to put it on hold. I'm sure we'll see it again, but I consider that a small win.
Oh, absolutely. And right now, any win we can get, we'll take. So this ballot, basically, it's not ballot, but the legislation that's now on Polis's desk to sign about the popular vote. Is there any chance of us getting him to not sign that?
No, but there is an effort that's been talked about today from a few counties talking about making it a ballot initiative. So during the debate in the House, someone put up an amendment to put this as a ballot referendum instead of just passing it. So that failed miserably. I'm not surprised by that. But now there's a local grassroots effort to collect the signatures needed. It's a lot of work, but to get this on the ballot, and it would mean that even if Governor Polis signs the legislation, it would be put on hold until after the vote, which would I'm not sure if it would be this coming November 2019 or 2020, but it would be put on hold until the statewide vote, and then we could really see what the Colorado public has to say about that. I think, this is one of those things that it's like, let's ask the voters, but I think a lot of the Democrats and Jared Polis are afraid of what the voters will say, and that's why they're going about it this way.
Does anybody know how many voting people do we have in Colorado? How many people vote in Colorado? Was it 2.5 million?
Yeah, I was going to say 2.5 or so.
Something
Lindsey,
like
you
that.
may know better than I.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
So then actually, in that respect, Colorado doesn't even need to vote.
Right.
We don't even need to cast a ballot.
Yeah, just
Because we're just going to go along with whatever the national popular vote is.
right.
And if you go off of all the numbers where they say, well, Hillary Clinton won by 3 million votes, well, Colorado's only got 2.5
No,
million.
and actually, that's correction.
And then we didn't even get.
Well, I want to get a
and then
correction.
not
there
all
real
those
quick.
votes went in for her anyway.
I don't want to get a correct. I want to make a correction on that as well.
Right.
First of all, she didn't win by 3 million votes.
Oh.
She won by 1.5 million votes. Because if you think about it, if Trump had really gone after the popular vote, all he needed was 1.5 million votes.
But the reality
Follow
is
me?
nobody even knows.
Well, I know, but even
That's
if
the
you
reality
take
of
the 3 million, you follow my analogy here. If Trump had gone after actually the popular vote, all he needed was 1.5 million to even split the vote. Follow me?
Yeah.
So it really isn't 3 million. That's the other thing I get tired of everybody saying is she won by 3 million votes. No, she really
Yeah,
didn't.
but even in the last
We don't even
article I
know.
read on
Yeah, I
this
know.
stupid bill, that's what they were saying. But really, Colorado is such a small population that without the Electoral College, we don't even need to
Right.
vote for president.
Okay, so when it comes to that, Lindsey, and Dan and I, Cassie, talked about this before we came on air today, and I don't want to discourage anybody from putting this on the ballot, but what I would say is this. I would much rather see the time, effort, and energy that would go into that going into actually challenging the constitutionality of what they just passed, because frankly, I don't think it's constitutional in what they passed anyways.
Yeah, and I think both can happen at the same time. The people, the lawyers and whatnot who could challenge this in the court are not the same people who can sign their name to a ballot. I think
True.
we need both strategies at the same time.
All right, I'll buy that. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Lindsey, as always, thank you for joining us. Colorado Rising Ashland, thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you next week again.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Lindsey. Appreciate it very much.